All right, and here comes a controversial topic that I've argued with multiple people on, and that is unethical practices whenever it comes to paid services for books and in upholding integrity in book promotions. Um, there are rules as far as customer reviews are concerned, and those rules are governed by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. Um, I've seen a lot of these, you know, pay X amount of dollars and get so many reviews. Um, while the practice in itself is questionable, because you don't know if you're actually going to get an honest review. And you want to make sure that whenever you do pay for it, that you are going to get an honest review. And if you get a review that's not so great, and they decide not to publish it, just remember that's kind of a biased way. Like, does that really seem transparent and fair? If they didn't like your book, it should be posted. It bothers me when people do that. And a lot of them that I've questioned that, have, because they'll solicit for services, will say, well, if it's not a good review, then you get to decide whether or not it gets posted or not. Well, kind of seems kind of biased to me, and that is steering the customer in an unhealthy manner. Seems unethical, to be completely honest with you. The other thing is that if it's paid for, and even if it's a free book, because that is considered something of value, you would normally charge a customer for a book. And so if you're giving it to someone free in exchange for a review, that should be disclosed in the review itself. It should say, this was a paid review, or I received a free book for this review. So that the customer knows that whether or not the reviewer intends it to be biased, it is going to be somewhat biased because they received some type of compensation for that. No matter what way you want to look at it, to remain completely unbiased in that sort of transaction can be questionable, and I'm not sure everybody can do it. I went round and round with some of these paid reviews that have said, well, we do this all the time on Amazon and nobody's ever said anything, and we've been doing this for X amount of years, and we, this much money and this many authors have done it, and we've never had anybody say anything about anything. Well, I can tell you that I work in compliance and audit. I've done federal audits and state audits, been through those. And I can tell you that my rule of thumb, and what I always like to say with people, is just because you're doing 80 miles per hour in a 70 mile per hour zone does not mean that you did not break the law. It means that you didn't get caught. And at some point you could get caught, and you get pulled over and you get a speeding ticket. That's how that works. So there can be consequences to this. It can be misleading. How do you think that your customers would feel if they discovered that all of your reviews on Amazon were all paid for reviews and they weren't made aware of it? Would they feel like maybe they didn't like your book, and so they feel like they were deceived into purchasing it based on these biased reviews? So it's just not very transparent, and it's a violation of the FTC guidelines for you to do that. And so it's important to make sure that you're being honest with your reviews, being honest with any of your book promotions on the platforms. You can definitely utilize these paid services as long as they're being done correctly. And I can tell you, I've been solicited for a lot of paid reviews or paid book promotions. And in all honesty, I have not seen one that actually discloses that it was either a paid for review or that they've received a free copy of the book. So making sure that you're following the disclosures. A good example would be, like, for example, if they say, I received a free copy of this book in exchange for an honest review, and then they give their review. That would be the best way to do it. So make sure that you're following up if they say they're going to do it, that they actually included that in their review. But I think that it's very important to say, like I said, I've argued with a lot of these places that they are in violation, and they continue to argue that they are not. And I can tell you, I read a lot of federal, state, and local law, and they are absolutely 100% in violation. And Amazon cracks down on reviews all the time. And if it's found that you're an author that has a lot of paid for or reviews that violate their guidelines, they'll kick you off the platform. And I've seen it happen before. So just be honest. Just be honest. That's my rule of thumb.